We are speaking with Fred Tackett from the band Little Feat. Fred, thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
We spoke once before a while back. If I recall, you started touring with Little Feat in '88 when the band came back, but your association goes back much further than that. Do I have that right?
Oh, absolutely. I knew Lowell George years before Little Feat was in his mind to organize. At one point, uh, I was here playing with great songwriter Jimmy Webb. He had found me playing. Jimmy Webb found me playing in a bar in Honolulu and said in 1967 and said, "You got to come to Los Angeles, man. It's a great big party going on. Everybody's having a great time. Let's come over here and get involved with this scene." And so I did, and we all lived at Jimmy's house. And my present wife now, who is my girlfriend back then, lived next door to Lowell, and she brought him over. One night I walked into Jimmy's living room, and Lowell was sitting on the floor all dressed in white playing the sitar. And I said, "Hey, man, we could play some wild psychedelic music with that sitar you got there, brother." And he was like, "Oh, no, I only play sacred Indian music." And I went, "Wow, that's cool, man." And then 2 weeks later, he was playing Dirty Water with the Standells. And I said, "Man, LA, this is the place for me." He went right from one extreme to the other. And that's just the way it was here at the time in the 1969, 60 into the 70s. And so, yeah, Lowell became a very good friend with Jimmy Webb and myself, and another great guitar player, Larry Coryell, the jazz guitar player, was a good friend. And we were sort of like the Four Musketeers. We hung out in LA for a long time together, and traded songs back and forth. And then Lowell, told us he was starting a band, and Billy Payne came down from Santa Maria, and he got Richie from the Fraternity of Man, and Roy Estrada from the Mothers of Invention. And the very first paying job they had was playing Jimmy Webb's birthday party. And so yeah, we've been very close associates. And I started writing songs. We were like hanging out at Jimmy's house, trading songs back and forth and stuff. And I played "Fool Yourself," and Lowell said, "I'll have that one," and recorded it on the Dixie Chicken album. But he lived at my house for a while, and when they were recording their first records. And so, yeah, Lowell and I went way back. And so therefore, we were there when Little Feat first started playing in the strip bars, here in LA.
Yeah, and Lowell actually took part in a lot of sessions you wouldn't have thought that he would have been on.
Yeah, he played a bunch
Surprising
of little
places.
Dolly Parton stuff, I remember. He played on Dolly Parton records and played on a Harry Nilsson record.
Yeah. How did you become part of the touring band when things got back together in '88?
Billy and I were playing with Bob Seger, doing we had done the record, The American Storm, and we were touring. And Billy said that, that they had, there was this rehearsal hall that called the Alley that everybody around town rehearsed there. And it was just this crazy party, great party place. They had a machine there that gave you beer for a nickel. If you put a quarter in, you could buy 5 beers. And so the Alley was just notorious, and we all had a great time. And then it shut down, and then they decided to open it back up and have a Lowell George Little Feat themed room. And they asked the guys in the band that were still around to come and have a jam session and initiate the room and all that. And they decided after that, hey, this was fun. Let's put the band back together. And Billy told me that and asked if I was be interested in joining up during that Bob Seger tour. And I said, sure. And so as soon as that tour was over, we started writing songs in 1987. And then by '88, we recorded "Let It Roll," and the rest was been moving right along.
Yeah. Are you surprised at the longevity of the band, that it's been 50 plus years and still cooking?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's been very, very great. I remember when we first played our first show, Billy came to my room and said, "Yeah, this is great. Maybe we probably have a dozen years of this, man." It turned out to be for me like 38 years so far now, or something, 40 maybe even. It's been great. You know, it's been sad that we've lost members along the way. We lost Richie, you know, we lost Lowell first, but the band was broken up then, and then we lost Richie, and then we lost Paul just the last couple of years ago. So, you know, we've just managed to find really great replacements. Right now, we have Scott Sherrard from. He was a musical director for Greg Allman's band for 10 years, and just has studied Little Feat since he was 12 years old. The first concert his parents took him to was the Let It Roll concert. You know, so he's been studying Lowell for since we put the band back together, and he's, you know, goes deep into the catalog. He can sing all of Lowell's songs, which the rest of us didn't have the vocal chops to do that. And that Scott, man, can do any of Lowell, so we're able to go deep into the catalog now. And of course, Tony Leone, I've known for years. He played with Chris Robertson, Phil Lesh, and a lot of Levon. Played with Levon's daughter, Amy Helm. And he's a great singer as well, which we had no idea. And he's doing all of Paul's songs. So we've been very fortunate to find people that come in and join the band who are just, you know, made for the band. We're perfect, you know. So it's just been great.
Yeah, I spoke with Scott, I think, last fall before your Waiting for Columbus tour.
Yeah.
And I think he'd mentioned that as a teenager, he pretty much reconstructed Waiting for Columbus on a 4-track in his bedroom.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Sounds about right. Yeah, they're amazing, man, those guys.
So you're back on tour again, and you're going to be hitting our area, College Street Music Hall, on April 21st. And this is the Boogie or Spring Away tour. So is there a theme to the performances, or is this just
no, it's just going to be, you know, we're just going to go deep into the catalog and, you know, try to play some songs that weren't on Waiting for Columbus. So we've been doing that for a year, and so we're ready to play some new songs, some different ones, and some new ones maybe. And it's just going to be a grab bag. When we get into the fall, we're going to go back to we're going to do Dixie Chicken, and we're going to do Sailing Shoes, those records in the order that they're recorded. But this April tour, the spring tour, is going to be just a lot of different stuff. Who knows?
Some deep tracks.
Hopefully, yes, sir.
We're
breaking out Strawberry Flats. I know that.
You know, you must have read my mind. I was just about to ask about Strawberry Flats.
Oh yeah, it's a great song. One of my favorites.
Yeah, we have the we have that first album in our LP library, and
oh wow.
A couple of people highlighted that song.
Oh yeah, it's a great one, man.
His favorites. That's the thing I miss the most about LPs is, that you could actually write comments and highlight songs on the covers.
Yeah. I miss the liner notes too, bro.
Yeah.
I was just reading some of Bob Dylan's songwriting book today, and he's talking about the Fugs and how they put in some of their liner notes would be in Esperanto, so you had to go figure out what they were talking about. But that was great. You could always take the album cover, check out the picture on the front. I bought a lot of albums because they had a great looking girl on the front of the cover, and you can read the liner notes, and it was great. I miss them.
But they're making
actually selling more LPs now than they are CDs or anything else.
Yeah, I still love the liner notes from the last record album.
Lowell was just the best at liner notes, man.
I never did find that closing parenthesis.
Right. Yeah, he wrote the best liner notes, man. When he posted Richie's medical bills on the back of the cover, that was a first too.
Was that from a motorcycle accident or something?
Yeah. Richie was accident prone. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, we're speaking with Fred Tackett from Little Feat. And Fred, what did you do in all those years before '88, before you started touring with the Feat after those early heady Los Angeles days?
Oh, I was like, doing a little. I was doing session work from the time. I came here to work with Jimmy Webb, and through Jimmy Webb, I met Glenn Campbell, who's also from Arkansas, and he got me on some of his sessions playing guitar. And then I was working with Jimmy doing Thelma Houston's Sunshower record, which is an amazing record. And Lowell, who is a good friend of ours, kind of got me steered into some different people like Jackson Brown and Bonnie Raitt. And so 1975, I was like playing on all kinds of people's records, singer songwriters. And so I was just working from 10 in the morning till 1 o'clock at night every night for sometimes 2 or 3 weeks in a row. And I did that up until we got into doing the Little Feat thing.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. I got to work with just all kinds of crazy, great people,
Yeah.
I played on, what was it? Old Time, the song that Twist and Shout on Rodney Dangerfield's, which was just an amazing thing.
That is
because they had someone out there standing there telling him the words, and he'd go, "Shake it up, baby, twist and shout." He listened to it back and said, "Can I leave now?" And we got to do Monster Mash with Christopher Lloyd, which was Christopher, the guy who did all the monster movies. So that was a highlight. Plus, I got to work with Charles Aznavour and just all kinds of insane people that, Joan Baez and Judy Collins, and it's just all a spectrum of people that was just great, as well as people like Victor Feldman, the jazz piano player. It was just Los Angeles in those days. I mean, you'd get a call on the telephone and you didn't know what it was going to be, and you'd show up at studio, and it might be, might be Little Feat, or it might be Judy Collins, or it might be Victor Feldman. You just never knew. And like Tom Waits got to play on Swordfish trombones. They did that album with him. And so it was just a great time to play all kinds of different music.
Yeah, Swordfish Trombones kind of was in the middle of that swerve that he was doing. His sound changed over the series of what was the album that was before Swordfish Trombones? It had Frank's Wild Years on it. I can't recall the title.
I can't recall the name of it either,
But he had it. There was more of a crunchier, choppier sound that he acquired about that time.
Yeah, he stopped using like a regular, rhythm section like piano, bass, and drums and guitar. When we did that record, Victor Feldman, again, I was the hero of that record. He was playing percussion. There wasn't an actual real drummer. There was a drummer there, and but mostly it was like Victor playing like all kinds of bizarre percussion, and I was playing my guitar with a car key and all kinds of like adventurous stuff. It was just a lot of fun, Tom would start to sing a song, and the next thing he'd just start laughing at himself. He'd start doing that voice of his and crack up. We just had a ball doing that record.
I can imagine he must have been a trip to work with.
Oh, this was the best, man. It was a lot of fun, a lot of humor.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Tom Waits.
Yeah, me too.
So Little Feat has gone through a lot of members since '88, or a few members, a few different singers, but somehow it all sounds like Little Feat. What is the secret sauce?
I just guess it's the chemistry between the guys in the band. It's like when you used to get my father used to tell me about how Freddie Green, this guitar player that played with Count Basie Orchestra, and he played without a guitar amplifier. He sat in this big band. You could never hear him. On the records, you could hear him because they put a mic in front of his guitar. And he always kind of started out the songs with Count Basie. But my father would say, Count Basie, Freddie Green trains all the drummers. He sits next to him and doesn't say anything to him. He just plays. And within, a week, they're in the style. And that's kind of like anybody that comes to play with Little Feat, within, a short time, they're into the groove that Billy and Kenny and Sam and myself, like with the new guys, they just start playing with us. And, pretty soon they fit into our groove, and they're in Little Feat.
Yeah.
Scott was telling me the other day, said I spent my whole life trying to recreate this band. I finally had to join it, because I couldn't recreate it.
Yeah. The one time I saw Count Basie, he introduced a song and said, okay, this song features a solo by Freddie Green. Played about like two choruses of a blues, came to the end, band stopped, and Freddie played the ending chord.
Yeah, man.
That was
That's
his
right.
solo.
He was just the heart and soul of that band, the groove, and you never knew it. It was just something you couldn't hear, but the groove was in there, and I learned from that. And a lot of my career was spent playing acoustic guitar on records, and there was an infamous session where the producer was, pulling the tracks up and down, and Billy Payne and I were both on the session, and the guy goes, "What's Fred Tackett doing? I don't hear him. I can't hear him in the mixing. What's he doing?" And Billy says, "Pull him out of the mix." And he pulled the slider down, and he goes, "See what he's doing? He's the groove. Put it back up." And Billy tells that story all the time. In fact, I got a call from that producer the other day going, "Okay, enough's enough. Can you come work for me again?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard of cases like that, and somebody
Yeah, man.
doesn't stand out, but when they're not there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's,
What
there's a
is
lot of that
what
stuff
is the
going
most
on in Little Feat.
what's the most memorable session you played on?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I think, some of the Tom Waits sessions were like that. I was telling somebody the other day when we did Boz Scaggs' Silk Degrees, that was the only real occasion where we play a basic track and go and listen to it back and go, this is going to be a hit. It's like usually you don't have a clue. Who knows?
Is that the one that
But
had Lowdown?
yeah, it had Lowdown on it and
Were
had
you playing on
Lido
that song?
Shuffle on Georgia. No, Louis Shelton played on
Okay.
that track. That was the one track that Louis Shelton played on, and I got called in. I guess he was doing something else and he couldn't play anymore. And I played on the rest of the record and had Lido Shuffle and Georgia and all those great tunes.
Wow.
But that was one of the very memorable. There was just so many. Jackson Browne Pretender sessions were
Yeah.
incredible. There's just a lot of them.
Wow. You really have been everywhere.
Yeah, man. I was very fortunate to be in a situation when in the studios where, you would hire a band for 2 weeks and that band would play the whole album. And then in fact, around the time of the Pretender, Jackson was kind of casting where he would go to New York and record a track and then come back to LA and record a couple of tracks with our little group. But he was still hiring the band for a 2 week period of time. And then it got to be where, he would one band would come in and play one song, one band would play it. And then it got to be individuals. Like I would, come in and play guitar after they had done guitar. I mean, after they'd done drums and bass maybe. And then they would bring in the piano player and have him overdub, and then bring in guitar player and have him overdub, and then bring in the singers and have them do it. And that became the thing to do. And now, when I do sessions, I go to somebody's bedroom, in their house and sit in the bathroom and play a guitar. But
Yeah.
it's gone from having, a band come in for 2 weeks to a month and do a record project to individuals coming in and putting on parts on different songs, and they could be from all over the world. And now people send me stuff on a computer. They send a file, and I just sit here at home on my computer and put a track on it and email it back to them. So it's all done from home now.
It must be nice to get back out on stage with a band after
Oh, it's just wonderful. The traveling's hard and weird.
Yeah.
We always, say the old cliche, the music's free, we charge for the travel.
Yeah.
Because riding on a bus, even if it's a luxurious bus like we have, with televisions and bunks and couches and refrigerators and just everything that you could possibly need, it's still, 8 hours on a bus is 8 hours on a bus, no matter, how much TV. The other thing is they always have you to give you the television with the internet, but the internet never works. So you're constantly trying
Yeah.
to look for signal as you drive down the road.
What is the most memorable catering you've had at a show?
Oh, I don't. Yeah, there's the most memorable catering I think was not actual catering at a show at a hotel. We came over to Italy from, and we drove like all day from Scotland, Edinburgh, Scotland, and we made it down to Italy in the night. And we were supposed to go to this really fancy restaurant, and it was an old monastery that had turned into a hotel. And I mean, it was literally being run by the monastery. It was just newly converted, so it's still basically a monastery, pretty austere. So, they say, we'll make dinner for you. And they say, well, Fred doesn't eat any meat. He'll eat fish, but he's kind of half vegetarian, but he doesn't eat meat, any chickens or, beef or anything like that. So they said, okay. And so they kept bringing out courses of all these different kinds of meats and, chickens and things. And they kept bringing me courses of cheese. I get a piece of cheese, and then, everybody eat for a while, and then they'd bring out a different kind of cheese. And that was probably the most funny and memorable occasion of eating with the band. Most of the time it's pretty standard. Every once in a while we'll play like up in Maine, and they'll come in with some lobsters or something. That's always very nice. But, it's pretty standard. And sometimes they just give you some $20 bill and say, "Go get something to eat." I don't know what you guys want to eat.
We're speaking with Fred Tackett from Little Feat. They'll be in our area April 21st in New Haven at College Street Music Hall on the Boogie Your Spring Away tour.
Yes, sir.
Fred, it's been great speaking with you. Any final thoughts about Little Feat or anything else?
Well, we're excited to be coming to this area and playing the show. We can't wait to be there. I can't wait to, I got some few errands to run around here in Los Angeles, and then we're heading to Annapolis for the first stop of the tour, and then we'll be seeing you guys.
All right.
Can't wait.
Well, I hope they bring you some good New Haven beats while you.
Yeah, me too.
All right, Fred, thanks so much for joining us. And
you bet.
Safe travels.
Same to you.